We are going to be solving past questions on adaptation. So we have here 50 questions to solve together. So you can feel free to pause the video at any point to try out each of the questions before we provide the answers. So here, we'll start with the first question here. It says, which of the following examples best describes camouflagic coloration in organism? We have A green snake in a green grass. B, butterfly, which has a red coloration on the wing. C, certain tree frogs with bright color pattern. D, a zebra with vertical stripes on the body. So if you look at all these, remember the question says, which of these examples best describes camouflagic coloration in organism? So the one that best describes camouflagic coloration is A green snake in a green grass, because it shows a camouflage. So the green snake in the green grass actually assumes the color of the grass. So that's a camouflagic coloration. So the correct option here, or the correct answer to this question, is option A. All right, so the next question here says, use the diagram below to answer the question. The bird's bill adapted for fishing is labeled A is II, B is I, C is IV, and D is III. So the correct answer to this question is option C, which is IV. That's the best bill that is best adapted for fishing. So let's look at the next question. All right, here the next question says, the specialized pigment cells that are involved in coloration and color change in animals are the dash. Okay, A is xanthophyll, B is melanin, C is chlorophyll, and D is chromatophores. So the correct answer to this question is melanin. Melanin is the specialized pigment that is involved in coloration in animals. So chlorophyll is for plants, so you can take note of that. The coloration in plants is for chlorophyll, whereas in animals it is melanin, which is found in the melanocytes. So the next question here says, grasses recover quickly from bush fires in the savanna because of their A, succulent stems, B, perinating organs, C, fibrous roots, and D, rapid growth rates. So guys, the answer to this question is option B, which is perinating organs. So plants with perinating organs can actually recover quickly from bushfires in the savanna region. So here's the next question. Mammals acclimatize to reduced oxygen content in high altitude by A, increasing the rate at which erythrocytes are destroyed, B, the stimulation of marrow to reduce the amount of erythrocyte produced, C, increasing the breakdown of the protein portion of the erythrocytes, and D, the stimulation of marrow to produce more erythrocyte. So guys, the answer to this question is option D. When oxygen is reduced, mammals can make up for the oxygen by increasing the rate at which the bone marrow actually produces erythrocytes. So the erythrocytes are the red blood cells, and we know that the red blood cells actually is responsible for carrying the oxygen due to the hemoglobin content. So the hemoglobin is the pigment that helps to carry oxygen in the red blood cells. So the more the red blood cells, the more the blood has the ability to carry oxygen. So if there are less red blood cells, it means there will be less oxygen in circulation. So if there is reduced oxygen, the mammals can make up for oxygen by increasing the number of red blood cells production. So in that case, the limited oxygen can be carried more by the greater amount of red blood cells produced. So the next question here, one adaptation of cactus opuntia to conserve water is a reduction of A, stem to leaves, B, flower size, C, leaves to spine, D, internodes. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C. So when they actually reduce their leaves to spine, there won't be more leaves for transpiration, so more water will not be lost. So in that case, they actually help to conserve water. So they can conserve water by reducing their leaves to spine. So that's the correct option, option C. So let's look at the next question, guys. The next question here says, an example of cryptic coloration is the dash. A, green color of a plant. B, bright marks on a poisonous tropical frog on variegated leaves. C, mottled colors on moths that rest on lichens. And then D, bright color of an insect pollinated flower. So the correct option here again is option C. So guys, you need to also know that cryptic coloration is nothing just but camouflage. So the mottled coloration on the moths actually is a way of camouflaging. So option C is the right answer to this question. So let's look at the next question in a bit. So that's question number 8 here. Use the diagram below to answer the question that follows. Okay, so we have diagram I, and IV. So with respect to their decreasing dependence on aquatic conditions for reproduction, which of the following is the correct arrangement of the animals represented? So the first one we have I, IV, and III. Of course, this is not the correct one. So the next is IV, II, and III. Of course, this is not correct because the first organism is actually a mammal, so it can't reproduce in water. So the next one we have IV, III, and I. Of course, this is the correct answer to this question because looking at this, the first organism is a fish. So, and then you can see that it is highly dependent on water. It does not leave the water. So it follows that way to the amphibians here on III and II, and then down to the mammal. So option C is the correct answer to this question. So let's look at the next question here. When an animal has a dark colored dorsal surface and a light colored ventral surface, this adaptation is called A is disruptive coloration, B is concealment coloration, C is color blending, and D is counter shading coloration. So guys, the answer to this question is counter shading coloration. An organism actually has a color on one part and another color on the other part. So this is actually used for camouflaging in most cases so that they can actually trick their prey or camouflage. So the next question here says, the ability of an organism to live successfully in an environment is known as A, resistance, B, competition, C, succession, D, adaptation. And guys, the correct answer to this is an adaptation. If an organism is able to live successfully in an environment, it has adapted to that environment. So guys, the next question here is question number 11. The question here says, rabbits cannot survive in an aquatic habitat because they have no gills, no scales, no fins, forelimbs, and hindlimbs. So, guys, the correct answer to this question is no gills. That's option A. So, that's the reason rabbits cannot survive in an aquatic environment. So let's look at the next question, question number 12, which says, which of the following options best describes adaptation for survival in organisms? A. Adaptation is the inherited trait that increase an organism's chance of survival and reproduction in its environment. Okay, guys, we don't need to read the next of the options because this option is the correct option. So that's the option A. That's the correct option, and that's the answer to this question. So guys, let's look at the next question there. That's question number 13. Which of the following terms ensures the survival of an organism in its environment? A is adaptation, B is hibernation, C is competition, D is succession. So guys, the answer to this question is adaptation. That's option A. So let's look at the next one, and that's question number 14. Question number 14 says, use the diagram below to answer this question. The type of protective adaptation exhibited by the animal is A. Warning coloration, B. Disruptive coloration, C. Flash coloration, and D. Counter shading coloration. Of course, we know that this animal does not exhibit a warning coloration, so it does not also exhibit a disruptive coloration, but it does not also exhibit a flash coloration. But this animal, of course, exhibits a counter shading coloration because the ventral part of this animal is actually different color from the dorsal part of the animal. So this is the type of protective adaptation that this animal uses. That's counter shading coloration. So take note of that. Let's look at the next question. That's question number 15, and it says, the spatial pigment for color change in chameleon is A. Melanin, B. Chromatophore, C. Carotenoid, and D. Chromatin. All right, guys, the correct answer to this question is option B. Actually, chameleons actually have chromatophores, which is found deep down after the transparent layer of their skin. You have the chromatophores deep down, and this chromatophore is what actually helps them to change their color with respect to their environment. So we have question number 16 here, which says, the group of insects that have mouth parts adapted for both piercing and sucking is, okay, A is aphids, beetles, and grasshoppers. B is cockroach, aphids, and mosquitoes. C is mosquitoes, tsetsefly, and aphids. D is aphids, housefly, and moths. So guys, the correct option is option C, mosquitoes, tsetsefly, and aphids. So they have mouth parts which are actually adapted for both piercing and sucking. So guys, let's look at the next question. That's question number 17. So the question says, what combination of character should a prey develop to survive the environment of its predator? So what combination of character should a prey develop to survive the environment of its predator? A is camouflage, big body, and effective vision. B is camouflage, well-developed limbs, and effective vision. C is showy color, well-developed muscles, and an acute sense of smell. D is showy color, big body, and well-developed limbs. Oh, of course, a prey needs the camouflage, but it does not need big body in order to survive its prey. So option A is not the correct option. Actually, a prey needs a well-developed muscles, it needs acute sense of smell as well, but does not need a showy color in order to survive the environment of its predator. So option C and D are not correct. So option B, which is camouflage, well-developed limbs, and effective vision, is the correct option here. So guys, let's look at the next question. That's question number 18. All right, use the diagram below to answer the question. The zone of physiological stress is represented by A is II and III, B is III only, C is I and II, and then D is II. So guys, there's a little error here. Option C here should be I and III, because this area and this area are the zones of physiological stress. Option C is the correct option here, but then it should be I and III, because that's the zone of physiological stress. So this middle zone, which is zone 2, is the zone of minimal stress. So the zone 2 here is the zone of minimal stress. So take note of that. Here, the zones for physiological stress is I and III. So that's it, guys. So guys, let's look at question number 19 here. It says, which of the following is the least adaptive feature of arboreal life? So actually, the arboreal animals are the ones that live on trees. So we have A, possession of claws, B, counter shading of coat color, C, possession of forelimbs, and then D, development of long tails. So which of these is the least adaptive feature of the arboreal life? So B is the correct option here. B is the correct option here, which is counter shading of coat color. So guys, here is question number 20. It says, use the diagram below to answer the question. Toes of the feet ending in sharp, curved hook suitable for holding and tearing are most likely to belong to the bird with the bill in A is I, B is II, C is IV, and D is III. So the correct option here is option B, which is II. So that's the correct answer to this question. So let's look at the next question. That's question number 21. An example of an animal that exhibits counter shading is A, snake, B, tilapia fish, C is chameleon, D is butterfly. So actually, tilapia fish exhibits counter shading, and that's what it uses to avoid its predator. The next question here, that's question number 22. In a drought situation, plants suffer from water stress, which could result in A, reduced biochemical activities, B, reduced phototropic activities, C, enhanced chemical activities, and D, enhanced microbial activities. So when plants suffer from water stress in drought situation, it means that they've lost a lot of water and they don't have enough water for biochemical activities. So actually, A is the correct option here, because having reduced phototropic activities is actually concerned with the sun. If there is low sunlight, that's when they have reduced phototropic activities, and definitely their chemical activities will not be enhanced, and then there won't be enhanced microbial activities because there is less water. So option A is the correct option here. So use the diagram below to answer this question. A noticeable adaptation of the animal to its aquatic habitat is the possession of A. webbed digits, B. large eyes, C. a wide mouth, and D. four limbs. So guys, the correct answer to this question is A. webbed feet. This animal possesses webbed feet, which makes it adapt to the aquatic environment. So let's look at the next question. That's question number 24. So question number 24 says, a certain savanna grasshopper changes color from green during the rainy season to brown during the dry season and black after the dry season bushfires. The reason for these color changes is that the A. grasshopper is getting older, B. environment temperature is changing, C. grasshopper is avoiding predation, and D. grasshopper is frequently molting. So the correct option, or the correct answer to this question, is option C, which is grasshopper is avoiding predation. So as it changes from the green color to the brown and then to black color, it is using these changes to avoid predation. So that's the correct answer to this question. So let's look at the next question. That's question 25. Question 25 says, which of the following adaptation is not found in fruits and seeds dispersed by wind? A is tuft of hairs, B is wings on pericarp, C is small and light body, D is spongy coats. So actually the correct answer to this question is spongy coats, because having a spongy coat actually makes the fruits and seeds heavier, so that in that way they will not be dispersed by wind. But fruits that are dispersed by wind can have tufts of hairs, and they even need wings on their pericarps for them to float on air. So they also have small and light body weight so that the wind can carry them. But spongy coats actually adds to their weight, so in that case makes them heavier, and that is not a good adaptation for them to be dispersed by wind. So next question, guys, that's question 26. Which of the following animals can exist solely on the water they get from food and metabolic reaction? So we have A, rainforest dwellers, B, forest ground dwellers, C, desert dwellers, and D, forest arboreal dwellers. So guys, the correct option already you should know for this question is the desert dwellers. So they can depend solely on the water they get from food and metabolic reactions, because they literally have no source of water. So they are adapted to depend on just the water they get from their food source and metabolic reactions. So guys, let's look at the next question. That's question 27. The spots and stripes on the leopard and tiger are examples of A, counter shading, B, cryptic coloration, C, disruptive coloration, D, warning coloration. The correct answer to this question is disruptive coloration. So, guys, let's look at the next question. That's question number 28. Dash is defined as the way in which living organisms get used to their various environments. So, option A is competition, option B is adaptation, option C is niche, and option D is conservation. So guys, the correct answer, like you already know, to this question is option B, that's adaptation. So let's consider the next question. That's question number 29. The least adaptive feature of arboreal life is A. Position of claws, B. Development of long tail, C. Position of forelimbs, D. Shading of coat color. So of course the correct answer to this question is shading of coat color. So let's look at question number 30. It says, the streamlined shape of fishes is adapted for A. Securing mates, B. Obtaining food, C. Defense and attack, D. Easy movement. The correct answer to this question is option D, that's easy movement. The streamlined body of fishes allow them to move easily in water. So question number 31 says, use the diagram below to answer this question. The economic importance of the larva is that it A. resembles the plant on which it lives, B. feeds on the leaves of crops, C. is eaten by birds, D. develops into a moth. So B is the correct answer to this question. So when you have economic importance, when you talk about economic importance, that's the impact of the organism to the economy, or how does it cause any relevant change in yield or production. So that's what we regard as the economic importance. And like we know, the larva here will actually destroy the leaves, or feed on the leaves rather. So if it feeds on the leaves, in that case, there won't be enough leaves for these plants to carry out photosynthesis. So in that case, crop yield will reduce. So the economic importance of the larva on this leaf is that it feeds on the leaves. So option B is the correct option here. So that's it, guys. So let's look at the next question. Question 32 says, which of the following organisms does not exhibit adaptive coloration? A is fish, B is stick insect, C is giraffe, and D is chameleon. So the correct answer to this question is option C, giraffe. Giraffe does not exhibit adaptive coloration. So, guys, the next question is, dash is defined as the ability of an organism to live successfully in a particular habitat as a result of its structure, appearance, and behavior. So guys, the answer to this question is adaptation, like we know. Okay, so guys, let's consider this next question. Birds maintain their body temperature with the help of their A. veins, which transport fluids of constant temperature to all body tissues, B. skin, which conserve moisture, C. feather, which cover the body, D. blood, which maintains constant temperature. So guys, the answer to this question is option C, feathers, which cover the body. The feather which covers the body of birds help them to maintain constant body temperature because they serve as insulation to them. So option C is the right option in this question. So guys, the next question, question number 35 says, which of the following are adaptations of animals to aquatic habitats? A, we have gills, streamlined bodies, and spiracles. B, we have gills, streamlined bodies, and lateral line. C, we have gills, scaly skin, and lungs. And D, we have lateral line, streamlined bodies, and lungs. So option B is the correct answer to this question. So let's look at the next question here. It says the changing of color by a chameleon to that of the environment is an example of A. Courtship display, B. Protective coloration, C. Display of body color, D. Adaptive radiation. So guys, it's a protective coloration and B is the correct option to these questions. So guys, question number 37 says, trees in savanna habitats usually have thick bark, which mainly A. reduce the rate of transpiration, B. resist bushfires, C. protect them from scorching sun, D. protect them from heavy winds. So option B is the correct answer to this question, resist bushfires. So the reason trees in the savanna habitats usually have thick bark is that it helps them resist bushfires. So question number 38 says, a green snake in a green grass is able to escape notice from predators because of its A. counter shading, B. warning coloration, C. destructive coloration, D. cryptic coloration. So guys, like we said earlier on, cryptic coloration is just a camouflage. So cryptic coloration is the correct option here because this is a camouflaging coloration. So guys, let's look at question number 39, which says a habitat of the Cysticerus of Taenia solium is A. muscles of pig, B. alimentary canal of pig, C. muscles of cattle, and D. alimentary canal of cattle. So the correct answer to this question is A. muscles of pig. So let's look at question number 40. It says the very bright colors in some types of mushroom, A. are warning that they may be poisonous, B. perform the same function as bright colors in plants, C. indicates they are very taste, D. attract potential transporters of the spores. So the correct answer to this question is A. They are warning that they may be poisonous. So let's look at question 41. The structural adaptation of desert plants for water conservation is A. prominent stomata in leaves, B. spiny leaves, C. broad leaves with numerous stoma, and D. spongy mesophyll. So guys, the correct option here is option B, and that's spiny leaves. Actually, plants in the desert have spiny leaves so that they can conserve more water. So the next question is question 42. It says, when a marine fish was taken from the ocean and put in a tank of fresh water, it died after a short period because A. the body cells of the fish shrank as their sap was hypertonic to the fresh water, B. there was no food in the tank, so the fish starved. So C. the tank was too small compared to the large ocean, and D. the body cells of the fish swelled and burst as a result of hypotonic fresh water. So D is the correct option here. The body of this fish actually swelled and burst as a result of the hypotonic fresh water. Of course, we know that the fresh water is hypotonic to that of the marine fish. The marine fish has more salt content, and so as a result, in no osmosis, there will be movement of water from the point where water is in higher concentration to the point where water is in lower concentration. And of course, water is in lower concentration in the fish because it's a marine fish, so it has more salt content. So water will flood the cells of the fish and then burst the fish. So let's look at the next question here. That's question number 43. Use the diagram below to answer the question. It says the animal represented by I is A is homotherm, B is herbivore, C is carnivore, and D is poikilotherium. So the correct option here is homeotherm, because this animal is able to survive in different external temperature, and the body temperature actually remains the same over a wide range of temperatures. So let's look at the next question, guys. The next question here says, the plant that grows in deserts or very dry areas are referred to as A. Hydrophytes, B. Xerophytes, C. Mesophytes, E. Epiphytes. So guys, the correct option here is option B, and that's xerophytes. So guys, let's look at the next question here, and that's question number 45. Question number 45 says, a condition in which a harmless organism resembles a distasteful and harmful one to scare its enemies is A. Warning coloration, B. Cryptic coloration, C. Batesian mimicry, and D. Camouflage. So A is the correct option here, and that's warning coloration. So let's look at question number 46. Which of the following adaptation is commonly observed in organisms for survival in water? A is long legs for running, B is gills for respiration, C is large ears for hearing, and then D is thick fur for insulation. So the correct option here is option B, that's gills for respiration, and that's what aquatic organisms use for survival, or their adaptive feature for survival in water. So we have counter shading is an adaptive feature that enables animals to A. attract mates, B. remain undetected, C. warn enemies, D. fight enemies. So the correct option here is option B, and that's to remain undetected. So guys, question number 48 says, the legs and beak of an egret resembles those of the heron because they A. occupy similar niche, B. occupy the same trophic level, C. are both birds, D. both feed on fishes. So A is the correct option here. They occupy similar niche. So guys, the next question, question number 49, an example of a fish that estivates is A. croaker, B. catfish, C. lungfish, D. shark. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, and that's lungfish. So guys, let me just give you a little explanation about this concept of estivation. So estivation is a situation where an animal actually becomes a kind of inactive in a period of high temperature, like very high temperature. So when there is extreme temperature condition, some animals can actually become a bit inactive in order to survive that period. So this is called estivation. The fishes that are able to actually estivate, the lungfish and the salamander, the African lungfish and the salamander, are able to estivate. Now, this concept is actually different from hibernation. Actually, hibernation occurs during low temperature conditions. So when there is extremely low temperature condition, an animal can reduce its activity or become inactive for that period, and that's hibernation. in order for it to withstand that condition or situation. So that's hibernation. So hibernation occurs in low temperature condition, where estivation occurs in high temperature conditions. So the correct option here is lungfish. So in case you don't have a lungfish in any of the other questions, maybe during your year, you have salamander fish. So these are the two majorly. So the next and the last question we'll talk about is question number 50, which says, which of the following adaptation is not found in fruits and seeds dispersed by water? So guys, we've treated this question already. First of all, the correct answer to this question is option D, that's spongy coats. The spongy coats will actually make them heavy, and therefore is not an adaptive feature of seeds dispersed by wind. So guys, that will be all for this lesson. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also ensure to subscribe to our channel if you're not yet a subscriber. Don't forget to share this video with your friends so that we can get more views. Also, if you have any question regarding this video, please drop your questions on the comment section and we'll be sure to give you a response to this question. So bye, and thank you for watching this video.